Nick Fuentes definitely masturbates to Donald Trump. Before I play a short clip for you that just came out in which Fuentes compares Trump to Hitler, Mussolini, Napoleon, and Caesar, I'll offer a short introduction for anyone fortunate enough not to know this piece of shit. Fuentes is a 25-year-old American Catholic political commentator and former YouTuber of Mexican ancestry. But he is also one of the most extreme white nationalists around, and that he has a sizable audience should terrify you. Just 1 year ago, he had a private dinner with Donald Trump, and that should say quite a lot to you about the sort of man Trump is. So, who is this special guest of the former president? Fuentes is an avowed incel who says sleeping with women is gay because it means you need affection. He believes women's only function is reproduction and thinks they shouldn't have the right to vote. He is a transphobe and homophobe who calls sex and gender nonconformity deviant and wants it to be federally illegal to engage in same-sex acts. He is an unabashed Islamophobe and Judeophobe, aka an anti-Semite, and he wants not only to deport Muslims and ban more from coming, he has spoken in support of literal genocide for Jews. He has said the only reason it took so long for abortion rights to be overturned was opposition from Jews, so I guess you're welcome? And has said that Jewish control of the media is a problem. Like so many who have called for literal extermination of Jews, he is also a Holocaust denier, making a point I often raise with students that the only reason a Holocaust denial exists is to enable its repetition. Fuentes is a blunt and outspoken white nationalist who worked on the Charlottesville Nazi rally and wants to enshrine white supremacy and patriarchy in America. Now, with that introduction, listen to this clip.
You know what's awesome about Trump is he's like 80 years old almost, but he looks fucking hot. All these other 80-year-old guys, all these other 80-year-old white guys look like this. Have you ever realized, a lot of people make fun of Trump for his look, but John McCain was like the same age, and he looked like a dork. Like, this is what John McCain, this is what John McCain looked like in his 70s, or I don't know how old he was in this picture. And then you look at Trump. And Trump just looks like a beast. So people say, oh, you're orange, your hair's stupid. He looks fucking awesome. He looks hot. So you could either look like this when you're 70, just look like another boring white guy, just look like a lame old cracker. Or you could look like this Aryan Chad, Hitler-esque, Caesar-esque, Mussolini moment, Napoleon, men who will define epochs. Liberals are like, this retard is like, well, the Trump voters are super loyal because last week they said Biden was too old, but Biden's the same age and 100% of them say that he's fit to... It's like, yes, we embrace the contradiction because we die for the man, Donald Trump, because we die for the personhood of Donald Trump and what he represents.
To support him.
She's like, but that's a contradiction, but you can't do that, but that's not logical. Trump gives the order, we follow. It's as simple as that. You can never understand.
Even though he's the incumbent.
Okay, let's unpack just a little here. First, how comfortable are you with white nationalist militias pledging to die for Mango Mussolini, Our once, and possibly future, spray-tanned Fuhrer has millions of supporters tuned into propagandists just like Fuentes. Second, how much more obvious does this need to get when Trump is being celebrated for looking Hitler-esque? Obviously, a weak-kneed authoritarian bootlicking manlet like Fuentes is going to idolize tyrants, but that those tyrants are people like Caesar, Mussolini, and Hitler that were responsible for literal acts of genocide should give you pause. Third, I'd like to ask my fellow Americans why we tolerate this shit. Why are we so unwilling to learn from history that we allow people like this to spew hatred and radicalize people? Fuentes is, at best, a stochastic terrorist, and at worst, a wannabe Goebbels, and we give such folks a platform at our peril. Liberalism has proven itself again and again incapable of combating fascism for two main reasons. First, its support for predatory capitalism creates the resentments that right-wing populists exploit. And second, Its adherence to a principle of free expression for even the most intolerant people creates a paradox that ultimately destroys that very freedom. When you allow such movements to spread their ideas openly, you are sowing the seeds of tyranny. And none of this is new either. They've been at this for a long time. This country had a sizable fascist movement in the 1920s and 30s, and only World War II and the post-war welfare state got it under control. This led the right to get clever. They organized, created strategies, formed secretive groups like the John Birch Society to spread conspiracy theories and frighten Americans away from socialism. They founded think tanks to mainstream their arguments through an economic backdoor. The attacks on taxation, for example, were born in the fight against segregation and poverty as ways to cripple our progress and return power to racist state governments. And they used America's long history of fear and xenophobia, the nativism of the know-nothings and the Klan, to fashion a culture war narrative that could place most of the seeds in the minds of the more conservative long before the mask came off. This shit has been building for decades. From Nixon to Reagan to W to Trump, at each stage we have seen politicians steadily more comfortable peeling back the disguise and revealing what it's all about. This country needs a genuine leftist revival. It is our only realistic chance either to avoid the impending fascist tyranny or to organize opposition to it once it is here. Because make no mistake, the Republicans are not a conservative party anymore, and people like Fuentes are in the ascendant with that base. The time for dog whistles is fast ending, and the time for concentration camps is just around the corner.